G'day YouTubers, I will preview this week's round of the 2024 AFL season. Before I start, it will be appreciated if you can subscribe, like and comment to my channel. Every subscriber will be much appreciated. Returning back to the show, before I start, I will review my round 8 votes. For the first game on Thursday night, I tipped the Power to beat the Crows. Damn it, got that wrong. The Crows won easily by 30 points. The second game, I tipped Collingwood to beat Carlton. Woohoo, I got that correct. The third game, I tipped the Swans to beat the Giants. Woohoo, I got that right. The Swans won by 28 points. In the fourth game, I tipped the Saints to beat North Melbourne. The Saints won easily by 40 odd points. Woohoo. The next game, I tipped Geelong to beat Melbourne. Damn it, got that wrong. The Demons won by less than a goal. The next game, I tipped the Bombers to beat the Eagles. Got that right. Woohoo. The Bombers won by 6 points. On Sunday, I tipped the Dockers to beat Richmond. Fremantle won easily by 54 points. Woohoo, got that correct. The next game, I tipped the Bulldogs to beat the Hawks. Unfortunate, got that so incorrect. The Hawks won in an upset. The last game, I tipped the Lions to beat the Gold Coast. Woohoo, I got that right. Overall, I selected 6 out of 9 games correct. My total in season 2024 is 50. The first game of the week is between Carlton and Melbourne, playing at the MCG on Thursday night, the 9th of May. The players in the mix for the Blues are Kemp, Durden and Moy. For the Demons, the players in the mix are Tomlinson, Brown and Werrell. The players injured for Carlton are Fogarty, Marchbank, Martin, McGovern, Motlop, Sard, Doherty and Sawani, both to ACL knee injuries. For the Demons, they will be missing Bowie, Melsham, Salem and Spargo. Last week, Carlton lost to Collingwood by a goal, with Nick Dacos kicking a goal with a minute remaining to put the Collingwood in front by a goal. And Melbourne beat the undefeated Geelong last week. Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Blues you have Pitnott in ruck with Cripps, Kennedy, Sarah and Walsh as the midfielders. For the Demons you have Gorman in ruck with Oliver, Winey, Petrarca and Swallow as your midfielders. If you compare your rucks between Gorman and Pitnott, you expect Gorman to win the hitouts. I mean, you got the older string Gorman against Pitnott, who's playing less than 80 games, so Gorman should have the cover for this position. And in the midfield, you got Cripps, the big body mid, against the hard extracting Winey inside type. Kennedy, who's the inside midfielder, against the inside outside Oliver. Sarah against Petrarca. Petrarca is a gun, is an explosive midfield who can kick goals, does inside work, also bursts out stoppages, and the hard working Walsh for the Blues against Sparrow, who plays a bit of inside outside. The Demons have more skill sets in the midfield where they have inside and outside midfielders against Carlton, which I believe in my opinion, they're missing a inside midfield to Goey Petrarca type, which that separates the difference between these two teams. Therefore, Carlton requires to be even in the midfield, as they got the twin forwards in Turner and McKay who can kick a winning score, whereas the Demons have Turner, Van Rooyen or Petty as their key forwards. Having said all that, I expect the Demons midfielders to dominate and put enough inside 50s for your Van Rooyen and Petty, or pick at the crumb and kick goals. Based on my comments, I'm going to tip the Demons to win this game. The next game is between Geelong and Port Adelaide, played on a Friday night in Geelong. The players in the mix for Geelong are Manham and Hardy. Players in the mix for the Power are Finlayson, Sin and Clory. The players injured for Geelong are Dangerfield, Edwards and Furphy. The Power will be missing Captain Rosie, Soldo, Jones, Lord, Narkle and Power Pepper for all of season 2025. Last week, Geelong lost their first game to Melbourne, and the Power lost to the arch rival Crows in the local showdown. Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Cats you got Blickaz with Holmes, Henry, Duncan and Clark in midfield, whereas the Power they have Jordan Sweet in ruck with Butters, Horne-Francis, Wines and Drew in the midfield. If we make a comparison between the two setups, you got the experienced Blickaz who can run all day against Jordan Sweet who's played less than 40 AFL games. You expect the Cats to win the hit-outs, and in the midfield you got young Max Holmes who's going to be a gun in the future. It was unfortunate, he was injured so he missed out on the premiership 2 years ago. You got young Henry who's doing good. You got the experienced Duncan and young Clark, whereas the strength of the Power is the midfield. We got All-Australian gun in Zach Butters with his speed and Horne-Francis who can go inside outside, only in his 3rd year of the AFL system, but it shows so much promise against the Crows in the showdown. And you got the former Brownlow medalist in Oliver Vines who bullets inside, and also William Drew who does inside. For the Cats, if they can even this position, the number of contested balls, that will suit them, as they got the twin forwards in Tomahawk and Jeremy Cameron who can kick enough goals. Plus they got the small coming forwards in Stengel and Close. Whereas the Power, they've got their twin forwards in them, Dixon, Marshall and Georgiades. However, their forward struggled against the Crows last week, and for the Cats, if they can isolate one of their forwards in the goal square, even though, i.e. Tom Hawkins, even though he's been goalless for the last 4 games, for the Cats, if they can isolate him against Rad Galea, who's basically playing his first full season in defence, you'll be happy as a Geelong forward and supporter. That's where, if I was Geelong, I would try to isolate that position. Having said that, given that the game is playing Geelong in the Narre Stadium in Kardinia Park, or GMHBA Stadium, I'm tipping the Cats to win this game, so I'll select Geelong. They just don't lose games at home. The next game is between Fremantle and Sydney, played at Optus Stadium on a Friday night or evening in West Australia. The players in the mix for the Dockers are Sturt, Rasmus and Will Brodie. For the Swans, the players in the mix are Parker, Hamling and Francis. The players injured for the Dockers are Cox, McDonald and Corbett for all of this season. The Swans will be missing Mills, Corny Warner and Reid. Last week, the Bulldogs lost to Fremantle and the Swans beat GWS in the local derby. Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for Fremantle you got Darcy in ruck with Young, Sarong, Brayshaw and the Great Five. For the Swans you have Grundy, Jordan, Rowbottom, Chad Warner and Gordon. If we make a comparison to this, you got Grundy against Darcy. You expect Grundy to do well and win more hit-outs, given that Darcy has just came back from injury a few weeks ago and Grundy is in great form, and Grundy plays a lot better when he's in the ruck for 90% of the game, whereas last year he struggled in Melbourne as he was in tandem with Max Gawn and only playing 50% in ruck and 50% in forward, where Grundy doesn't really play in ruck, doesn't really play in the forward line and is predominantly just mainly a ruckman and a good one at it. So we compare, so we have Grundy against Darcy, and in the midfielders you got Jordan against Hayden Young. Hayden Young's elite kicking, Jordan's strength, the hard workers of Sarong and Brayshaw against the hard-working Roadbond but Chad Warner, who works hard but has elite kicking, and the Great Five, who is playing well this year but not his former Brownlow medalist form of the yesteryears, given that Five has missed a couple of years of injury. And for the Swans you got Gordon, who's elite kicking, one of the best kickers in the league. You don't want him to have plenty of possession, or else he'll just cut you apart with his elite kicking. And then if we look at the Fremantle's forward line, you got young Amos and you got the experienced Walter, who's averaging below previous seasons. And you compare the Sydney's forward line, so much firepower. You got McDonald, Amanti, the two key forwards, Papali, who's averaging more than a goal a game, and last week Haywood scored 4 goals in the local derby against the Giants. Saying all this, I'm going to tip the Swans to win this game. Too much class in their team, and the Swans have only lost 1 game this year, and they're poised to finish the top 4 this year. They've got so much skills. Players like Blakey running off halfback with his elite kicking, golden, and I forgot to mention Isaac Heaney, who's leading my Brownlow medal. He's kicking goals, rotating in the midfield. They've just got so much weapons, the Swans. Therefore, I'm going to tip the Swans. The next game is between Hawthorn and St Kilda, played on Saturday the 11th of May in Tasmania. The players in the mix for the Hawks are Sarong, Wingard, Rees and McDonald. The players in the mix for the Saints are Dow and Zach Jones. The players that are injured for the Hawks are Ganga Barras, CJ, McKay and James Blunt, whereas the Saints will be missing Butler, Brad Crouch, Henry and Higgins, who is suspended. Last week, the Hawks caused an upset and beat the West Bulldogs, whereas the Saints beat the winless North Melbourne. How will the Hawks young players back up from winning a close game against the West Bulldogs last week? Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides. For the Hawks, you got Megan Ruck with Newcomb, Weddle, Warpel and McKenzie. For the Saints, you have Marshall and Ruck with Ross, Hill, Steele and Windhanger. If you compare the two sides in that position, you got the class of Marshall against young Meek. I'm assuming Marshall will win more hit-outs, so he'll give his midfield followers more advantage. And then in the midfield, you got the young Hawks in Newcomb, Weddle, Warple and McKenzie against Ross, experienced premiership player in Hill, and the class captain of Jack Steele and Winghanger. I'm expecting the Saints to win this position, and if the Saints dominate the midfield, they're going to provide enough opportunities to their twin towers in King and Membray, whereas the Hawks have young players in forward line. Sicily played a short stint in the last quarter in the forward line as he was injured and he couldn't rotate, so they left him in the forward line, and fortunately for the Hawks, he kicked a goal with a few minutes to put the Hawks at 2 goals in front against the Bulldogs and basically help them win the game. Based on the depth of the St Kilda, I'm going to tip the Saints to win this game. They've got too much class, and can the young Hawks back up after a good win against the Western Bulldogs last year? Based on that, yeah, I'm going to tip the Saints. The next game is between Essendon and GWS, played on Saturday afternoon at Marvel Stadium. The players in the mix for the Bombers are Tisastas and Shield. For the Giants, the players in the mix are Haynes, Stone and Rosen. The players injured for the Bombers are Menzies, Zachary, Ridley, Setterfield and Caldwell. The players injured for the Giants are Cortiglio, Tom Green, who was subbed out in the first quarter with an ankle injury, so he's in doubt, Kennedy, Leake and Brown, who is suspended. Last week, the Bombers beat West Coast Eagles by a goal of the same. It was a hard-fought win, but they deserved the win. Whereas the Giants lost to their arch rival Swans in the local derby by 29 points, and they had some players missing out from that game, with potential Tom Green with his ankle injury and Brown, who is suspended for the game for his bum. Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides. For the Bombers, you got Draper in ruck with Parrish, Perkins, Merritt and Stringer in the midfield. For the Giants, you have Briggs in ruck with Peatling, Kelly, Whitfield and Callahan in the midfield. If you compare the two at these areas, Draper should win the hit-outs against Briggs, and then you got the supporting midfielders of the hard-working Parrish, Perkins and Merritt, who works very hard up and down the field, and the bullocking bulk of Stringer, who kicks goals. Whereas the Giants, you got Peatling, who's a young midfielder, and the class of Kelly and Whitfield with potential young gun in Callahan. If the Bombers can even this position and prod enough inside 50s to their forwards, they'll have a chance to win this game, as they've got 2-meter Peter up forward and Lawete. Based on this, I'm going to tip the Bombers to win this game, as the Giants are still missing key players. The next game is between Richmond and the Western Bulldogs. The game will be played at the MCG on Saturday night. The players in the mix for Richmond are Cumberland, Ryan and Kosicki. For the Bulldogs, the players in the mix are Sanders, Daniel and West should return from suspension, and Lobb. The players injured for the Tigers are Bolter, Hopper, Lynch, Prestia, Ross, Taranto and Gibcus. What a long injury list. Whereas the Bulldogs will be missing Waitman, Caulfield and Bailey Smith. Last week, the Tigers lost to Fremantle at home by 9 goals and the Bulldogs were upsetted by Hawthorn. The Bulldogs have been in the heat all this week from the media, so we expect the Bulldogs to play a strong effort this week given the ramifications of their loss to Hawthorn last week. Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for Richmond you got Nankervis in ruck, the midfields of Pickett, Banks, Baker and Rowsmith. For the Bulldogs you have English in ruck, Bontempelli, Treloar, Liberatore and McRae in the midfield. Just comparing the two, you got the Premiership player in Nankervis against young English who's a gun ruckman. Whereas you look at the midfield, this is where the difference shows. You got Pickett, Premiership player, and you got youngsters in Banks, Baker and Rowsmith. Compared to the Bulldogs, we got all Australian top 5 AFL player in Bontempelli, Treloar with that experience of his, Liberatore, but he may be in doubt, and McRae. Just looking at the two teams on paper and Richmond's many injuries, and they're plenty young players, so the list age of Richmond has decreased dramatically due to the number of injuries to the experienced players. I'm expecting the Bulldogs to win this game. They've got too much experience and class, and unfortunately for Richmond, they've just got too many gun players out. I mean, how do you play when you got Bolter missing defence, Hopper, Prestia, Taranto in the midfield? That's 2/3 of your midfield missing, and Tom Lynch, who's going to kick the goals? We've just got so many injuries, and I expect the Bulldogs to win this game. The next game is between Gold Coast and North Melbourne, played at Darwin on Saturday night as well. The players in the mix for Gold Coast are Day, Farrell, Sexton and Davies. For the Kangaroos, the players in the mix are Larazzo, Phillips, Greenwood and Stevens. The players injured for the Suns are Roses Jr. and Weller. The Kangaroos will be missing Loeb, Goda and Coleman Jones for all of 2025. Last week, Gold Coast lost to Brisbane Lions in the local derby, and North Melbourne lost to St Kilda. Looking at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Suns, you got Wits in ruck with Anderson, Rao, Miller and Flanders, compared to the Kangaroos of Xari, Davey Shiniaki, Murchurcha, Simpkin and Wardlaw. If you look at the two, you expect Wits to dominate the hit-outs against Xari. Wits is a gun ruckman, and in the midfield, North Melbourne got gunplay and David Shiniaki, and the Suns have Anderson. And then this is where it gets interesting for the Kangaroos. They've got young players in Murchurcha and Wardlaw, who were top 4 draft picks in the last 2 drafts, and their captain in Simpkins. Whereas the Suns have Rao and Tuke Miller, who's an All-Australian, and Sam Flanders, who's playing well in mid plus half back. Looking at that, the Suns have too much class in the midfield, and in the forward line, where North Melbourne's issues are in defence, where they're losing McKay last year as a free agent has hurt their defence, and they don't have much young or experienced key defenders to support their young defenders. I'm expecting King and Lukosius to have a field day up in the forward line, and also the humidity of Darwin will be a sticking point for the Kangaroos. Having said all that, I'm going to tip the Suns to win the game, so I'll tip the Suns on this. There we are. The second last game of the week is between Collingwood and West Coast Eagles. That will be played at Marvel Stadium on Sunday afternoon. The players in the mix for Collingwood are DeGoey, Mitchell and Kruger. For the Eagles, the players under consideration are Gaff, Harry Edwards and Jones. The players injured for the Magpies are Eyre, McCready and McStay. The players that are injured for the Eagles are Allen, Bazzo, Flynn, Hewitt and now Waterman. That's a big blow. He kicked 4 goals on the weekend. Last week, Collingwood beat Carlton by a goal, whereas West Coast did the exact opposite and lost to Essendon by a goal. Looking at the ruck midfield setup of both sides, for Collingwood, you have Darcy Cameron in ruck with the gun of Nick Dacos, Mitchell, DeGoey and Penalty. A midfield, And for the Eagles, you have Bailey Williams in ruck, followed by Gimby, Kelly, Yeo and Chester in midfield. I tip the rucks to be 50-50 between Cameron and Bailey Williams, but in the midfield, Collingwood has so much class. West Coast, you got youngsters in Gimby, Chester, followed by the experienced Kelly and Yeo, whereas Collingwood got Nick Dacos, Tom Mitchell who will feed all the inside ball. The goalie, he can distract inside and outside, and you've got the leg kicking class player in Pendlebury, just makes a good decision. The Collingwood midfield is a lot strong, and West Coast, they've got missing Woolman and Oscar Allen, so they're going to find it difficult to score goals. And based on this, I expect Collingwood to have more inside 50s, provide more opportunities for the forwards, and for the forwards just kick a winning score. However, West Coast has been improving this year. Harley Reid's been a revelation this year, and some experienced players have played well this year. Elliot Yeo has been good this year, and Waterman, unfortunately, is out for this game. Has been a real find for this year after return back to West Coast from Essendon. Based on this, I'm going to tip Collingwood to beat West Coast Eagles. The last game of the week, played on Sunday afternoon, is between the Adelaide Crows and Brisbane Lions, played at the Adelaide Oval. The players in the mix for the Crows are Murphy, Berry and Gallant. For the Lions, the players in the mix are Lyons, Cry and Fort. The players injured for the Crows are Vilfov, Pedler, Parnell, Miller, Murray for this season, and Sloan to retirement. For the Lions, they've just suffered a large injury list and lost lots of players to injury in the Hugh Clash derby last week. They will be missing Zach Bailey, Robertson, Ainsworth, Starcevich, Gardner who did his knee, McCarthy who did his knee, Coleman, Dode, also to an ACL knee injury, and Ashcroft, still recovering from an ACL knee injury. Last week, the Crows beat the Power in their local showdown, whereas the Lions also beat their rivals in their local derby of Gold Coast in the Hugh Clash derby. If you look at the ruck midfield setup for both sides, for the Crows in ruck you have O'Brien with the midfields of Dawson, Crouch, Saligo and Laird. For the Lions you've got McAloney, McCluggage, Neal, Dunkley and Berry. This is the only position that the Lions don't have injuries. You expect the hit-outs to be even between McAloney and O'Brien, whereas the Crows got a number of inside midfields of Crouch and Laird, with young Saligo who provides that sideways movement, and Dawson with his leg kicking. The Lions have got the hard-working Dunkley, Gunplay, and Lachlan Neal, and McCluggage plays on the outside, and Berry. I expect the Lions do better in the midfield against the Crows. However, it's the other positions that the Lions are struggling. In their forward line, they've got Danaher, they've got Hipwood, and Charlie Cameron. Now they're missing Lincoln McCarthy, who's out with an ACL knee injury. The Crows, their strength is their forward line. You got Walker, Fogarty, and Himmelberg has been playing well in this last couple of games, followed by the two nifty small forwards in with Shelley and Isaac Rankin. That's a potent forward line. So if the Crows can even the midfield and put enough inside 50, their forwards would be efficient. And against the Power, the Crows had a number of forward entries, but they were so efficient every time when the ball went in the full line. Based on this, and Brisbane's significant injury list, and the Crows are playing at home and had a great win against the Power, I'm going to tip the Crows to win this game. So for this week, my teams that I've selected are Melbourne to beat Carlton, Geelong to beat the Power, the Swans to beat Fremantle, the Saints to beat Hawthorn, Essendon to beat Giants at home, the Bulldogs to beat Richmond at MCG, the Suns to beat the Kangaroos at Darwin, Collingwood to beat West Coast at home, and the Crows to beat the Lions as well at home. So that's my tips for round 9 of the AFL season. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed my video, please like, comment and subscribe.